Today we will talk about Mahamantra. But before we get there, I will summarize shortly what we spoke last time, and then we will move forward together. So in the first kind of introductory lecture, I was talking about the universality of chanting the names of God. And more specifically, we talked about different characteristics that most of the mystical contemplative traditions share. So first, it is said that all mysticism is based on two kinds of longing. There's a longing of a soul towards God, but there's also the longing of God towards each one of us. So we are longing for Krishna, but he's also longing for us. And when we are chanting, we can express that kind of longing and trust that goes in both ways. The second idea that generally all contemplative schools teach is that the simplicity, peace, and harmony that is included in prayer and meditation can be reached regardless of time, place, and your circumstances in life. There are no hard and fast rules for chanting the names of God, like our saints and teachers say over and over again. And then the third aspect that the mystical schools share was that we ourselves don't really know to pray. We can try to our and what we really can do is to surrender and to give our love and our humility. And then little by little, God will start praying in us. Like for example, for us in Gaudiya tradition, the name of Krishna is none different from him. And when we are calling him with sincerity and inviting him to enter our heart, he will come and he will dance at our tongue, in our mind, and at the stage of our heart. And finally, the fourth characteristic that we spoke on the first lecture was that that one of the thoughts that weaves together the contemplative traditions is the emphasis on prayer or meditation as the continuous state of mind. It is not only an exercise that we do and then continue our real life, but ideally the name is our life, and our whole life and whole being is centered around it. So like we see, calling out God's names with humility and sincere wish to find a real connection with the divine and with our ideal is something that many traditions share. It takes slightly different forms within its tradition, but when we take a closer look, there's a lot in common within the mystical side of different spiritual movements. So all of this, it gives further support for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching that chanting the names of God is something very universal, non-sectarian, and how it really is a widely recommended method of self-realization for this age where we are living right now. So, building on those universal characteristics of prayer and chanting the names of God, today we will focus on the Mahamantra, the precious gem that in so many ways is the heart of our Gaudiya tradition and the core of our spiritual practice. I will give a short introduction to the theme, and then at the end of the class, we will have again some time to share some of our personal experiences about chanting. For example, what kind of things have you found in the ways you're committed to your ideal, Or if you would like to share some practical tips that have helped you to concentrate in chanting or improved the quality of your chanting, it would be wonderful to hear them a bit later. So let's approach Maha Mantra, the great mantra, by asking the blessing of Sri Chaitanya, the blessing of his closest associates, and the blessing of our spiritual teachers for our chanting. They are our affectionate guardians who are calling us and who guide us to Krishna's abode, the eternal and ever-fresh Goloka Vrindavan. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara, Sri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda, Sri Advaita, Gadadhara Pandit, Srivas Thakur, and all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. So this is the Panchatattva mantra that we start our chanting with and return to it repeatedly in between our rounds. So like we shared last time at the like discussion part of the lecture, we talked a little bit how the door to Krishna Lila, the door to Vrindavan goes through Gaura Lila, through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So also in relation to our chanting, we approach the names of Krishna through Sri Chaitanya, who came to the world to show us the way how to learn to love and how to learn to love God unconditionally. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sri Nityananda Prabhu are described as the most compassionate forms of God. So Sri Chaitanya is teaching us how to chant and how to approach the divine, how to learn to love unconditionally. And Lord Nityananda is calling us and taking us to the paths of bhakti even more concretely. We celebrated Nityananda Trayodasi, I'm sorry about my English, the appearance day of Lord Nityananda some weeks ago. And I was visiting my good friends Krisangi and Kamalaksha. And Krisangi Prabhu gave a really inspiring talk about Nityananda's life on that festival day. And she talked about how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is calling all the people who want to follow the path of Krishna Bhakti. And then again, she mentioned that Nityananda Prabhu is calling even those who are not interested, those who don't want to follow the path of Bhakti. So we can enter our chanting trusting that our chanting is blessed and protected by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his closest associates. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is supporting that part of us that wants to chant and wants to grow in chanting the names of God. And Nityananda Prabhu is there for us in those days when we might not feel that eager to chant, and chanting our rounds feels more like a heavy duty or a boring routine. Something that we are perhaps not that willing to do because there are so many more interesting things to do. I have days like that sometimes, so that's I'm like always I'm preaching mostly for myself in this regard. So anyway, Nityananda is seeing us in those moments with his compassionate eyes and reaching out for us like, come, let's do this together. Another point about Panchatattva mantra in relation to our chanting that I would like to take up at this point is the 5 different truths that are included in the mantra. Like each person, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda, Sri Advaita, Gadadhara Pandit, and Srivas Thakur, they all are or the core understanding of God, the truth about God's expansions or associates, the truth about incarnations
la
of
verdad
God,
acerca de la encarnación,
and the truths about the internal and marginal energy of God and the
la verdad
devotees of
acerca de
God.
la energía marginal de
So
Dios.
this sacred knowledge, these
Así
theological
que todo este
teachings are
secreto,
protecting our
conocimiento secreto,
chanting
toda esta
and
parte
helping us to
teológica
dive deeper
del
into the
cante,
transcendental reality. My Guru
tan
Maharaj
profunda dentro de
Bhaktivedanta
la
Swami
trascendencia
Tripurari
espiritual, mi Guru
often
Maharaj
says
y la
that
Tripurari
to love
Maharaj
Krishna is to know him.
dice que
And
amar a
we get
Krishna
to
es
know him through
conocerlo.
revelation, through
Y
our
nosotros
sacred
podemos
texts
llegar
and
a
through our
conocerlo, a que se nos
teachers.
revele
So
a
in
través
this
de
way,
nuestros
the sacred
maestros.
knowledge is also guiding our chanting in the form of Panchatattva
Este
mantra.
conocimiento,
Even in the beginning
a
of
través
our spiritual
del
path, when we
canto,
perhaps don't understand these theological truths all that well,
poder
they are
llegar
still
a estas verdades
there in the
teológicas,
mantra.
están en el mantra.
On our last meeting, at the end of the
Nuestra
meeting,
última reunión, al final de
Srimati
la
Mohini
reunión,
Devi asked a question
Mohini
about the
Devi
prayer
hizo una
beads that are
pregunta
used in Christianity,
acerca
and if there's
de
some
orar
like
dentro de la
connection
cristiandad y si
or
había algún tipo
similarities
de
for our
conexión o
prayer
similitud
beads, the Japamala.
en
And
el
at that
momento de
point,
nosotros orar
I
con la
had to admit
Japamala.
that I'm sorry, I don't really know that kind of
En
like
ese
the
momento
practical side of
realmente
Christianity
no
all
sabía, no
that
conocía
well. So I promised that I will
la
look it
real
up and
práctica cristiana,
kind
así
of
que
get back to it
prometí
this time.
buscar la respuesta.
So I
que
I did a little bit research on that,
hice un poco de
and I
búsqueda
found
acerca de
out
esto,
that there are like differences also
que
like inside
encontré
of the
que hay
Christianity, like in Eastern
diferentes
Christianity that we
ramas
mostly
del cristianismo,
spoke
como
about on our last talk.
Los cristianos del
The
este
traditional prayer beads in Orthodox
o
Christianity,
los cristianos ortodoxos,
they are kind of simple ones. There are 100 beads like bound together,
ellos tienen
and that's
100
pretty much it. It's
cuentas
like
dentro de su
it
rosario.
reminds a little bit of our, or actually quite a bit,
Recuerda,
our
es un poco parecido a
Japamala
nuestra
with different
Yapamala,
number of beads, of
con
course.
una diferente,
And then
diferente número de
like Mohini also mentioned last time, in Catholic, like Roman Catholic Church, they have a bit different prayer beads or rosary. Like they have more these like different kinds of beads connected together.
Ellos tenían
Like for
diferentes
example, there are
cuentas
10
que
regular
conectaban
beads
entre
and then one bigger bead in between, and then again 10 like
por
regular
ejemplo,
beads and then bigger bead.
una cuenta más grande
And
entre 10 cuentas, etc.
so in the rosary prayer, they basically are chanting for the Saint Mary, 10 prayers,
ellos
and then there's
cantando
this
siempre
bigger
hacia
bead,
la Virgen María,
which is then our Father in heaven.
y
And
el
also
Padre
for
en
the
el
big
cielo.
beads in Roman Catholic Church, it was
Y
written
también
that
con las
there's
cuentas
a
pequeñas,
specific secret
los
hidden
católicos
inside of each of these big beads that can be remembered when they get at that point. So I must admit that I'm a little
debo
bit shy about big
estoy un
secrets,
poco
especially about the big
tímida
secrets of other
acerca de
people.
esos secretos
If they are not like, if I'm not actively invited
no
in
soy
to
activamente
kind of
invitada
share them, so I kind of
este
stopped
tipo
at
de
that point, and
práctica,
I didn't
me detengo en ese
search
momento
further
en
what kind
cuanto
of
a la
secrets there
búsqueda
are in their tradition. But
las tradiciones,
in a
pero
way, it came to my mind.
de cierta manera vino
When
hacia
I
mi
was asking
mente
about this, like similarities in
cuando me
practice and
preguntaban acerca de las
similarities in these
similitudes
prayer
dentro de la
beads. So it
práctica.
came to my mind that
Vino hacia mi mente
there
que
are
hay
like at least two similarities
al menos dos
that I can
similitudes.
think of at this point. So
Pienso que en este punto
so one point
una de
that
ellas
we
sería
clearly see is approaching the big
el
secrets of
acercamiento
our
hacia
tradition
los
with the
grandes
blessing of
secretos de nuestra
saints,
tradición,
like
las bendiciones
we
de los
just
santos,
talk how we are approaching the Mahamantra, the
como lo
big
hemos hablado, el
and
acercamiento hacia
but
el
still the open
Mahamantra,
secret of our tradition with the blessing of
acercarnos
God
hacia el Mahamantra
and saints.
con la bendición
And then the
buscando
other
la
thing
bendición
that
de
we
Dios y de
see
los
here
santos.
is that there's a layer of deep theology hidden inside of the practice, it's like supporting our chanting and carrying it further, and with the help of that like knowledge and theological aspect of our tradition, we will be able to like dive deeper and deeper into the mantra and find more and more meanings in it. So that kind of things I was able to think about. I'm not sure if Mohini, you are online this time, but anyway, my greetings to you and thank you for the question that you asked.
Esto es lo que tengo
But
para
now,
responder
finally,
acerca de la pregunta.
let's approach the Hare Krishna mantra with the blessing of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu,
agregar.
Sri Nityananda, their associates, and our teachers. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So these are the names that we as followers of Gaudiya tradition call out daily in our spiritual practice. Mantra in general is sacred sound that carries the special spiritual powers within. And the word mantra comes from two Sanskrit roots, manas meaning mind, and tra meaning tool. So mantras in general can be seen as tools of thought that help to focus the mind and guide our thoughts and mind towards our ideal. Ideal. But for our sadhakas, the practitioners, these names of God are something more than just tools to focus our mind. So these names are like the sun that our life circles. These names are like a big, beautiful tree that the creeper of faith, the creeper of devotion in us can find support and climb up to the light. So these are the names of our beloved that we are calling with great affection, like we are calling our best friend, our child, or our lover. So in Gaudiya tradition, chanting and repeating the mantra is not so much about us and about our mind. Rather, it is about building little by little the deep personal relationship with divine, with Krishna Chaitanya, and learning to love them unconditionally. But then also, at the same time, I think we can talk about chanting the Maha Mantra as spiritual practice as well. So we are practicing the art of loving, which is not easy at all, but at the same time, it is our only hope. Krishna Kaviraj Goswami describes in his Chaitanya Charitamrita, how Bhattacharya asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which item is the most important in execution of devotional service? And Sri Chaitanya replied that the most important item is the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. And I'm citing this verse again, like I did last time. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. There is no other way. There is no other way. There is no other way. That is also confirmed in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where it says, when Krishna enters the heart through the ear, he captures the lotus of the heart and then gradually makes all the dirt in the heart disappear. Just as when the autumn season comes, all the water everywhere becomes purer, so also when Krishna enters our hearts, all the impurities within will gradually vanish, and only Krishna will remain forever. That's such a great promise. So chanting comes to us often through devotees. We might hear the mantra somewhere, we might read about it, and then in one day we will try it ourselves. We receive the beads and we get some instructions on how to use them. And also here we can see the compassionate nature of Mahamantra.
empezamos a
We can
sentir
try
la
chanting
naturaleza
even before
compasiva
we
del
are formally
Mahamantra.
initiated into the
Empezamos a
spiritual
intentarlo
tradition and
incluso
before we have
antes de
received the
recibir
mantra
la
officially from
iniciación
our spiritual
de
teacher.
nuestro maestro espiritual.
So we are usually chanting with prayer beats that have
Que
108
usualmente cantamos con
beats,
las cuentas
and then there's the
una
one
cuenta de
main beat
108.
where our chanting always guides us to. So no matter which way
Así
we
que
are
no
moving,
importa cuál es
like also in
camino
life
que
in more
tomemos,
general, no matter which way
no
we are
importa
moving, we will always end up at the
cómo
feet
nos
of
movamos,
Sri
pero al
Krishna.
final siempre
And
nos
then
llevan hacia
after we
Krishna.
have tried chanting and learned a bit more about Gaudiya tradition, we
También,
received the mantra
aparte de
from our
cantar,
spiritual
intentamos
teacher.
aprender acerca del
She or he
Vaishnava
whispers the 60 most beautiful names of God into our ear
mientras
and hands us prayer beads
el
that
maestro
she or he
espiritual
has chanted with.
nos
So when we
dice
chant and follow the
los
beads
más
with our
hermosos nombres a
fingers
nuestro
one by
oído,
one, we are
comenzamos a
quite
cantar con
concretely
nuestros
walking
dedos
at the
una cuenta a
footsteps of
otra.
our teacher who is accompanying us and guiding us in our chanting.
Nuestro maestro nos acompaña y nos
So
guía en
according
lo
to
que
the
es el canto.
theologians of
Así que de
Gaudiya
acuerdo a la
tradition, there are three
teología de la tradición,
phases or three
hay tres
stages
etapas
in chanting.
en el
So
canto.
first, there's kind of a beginner's
La
stage.
primera serían los principiantes.
We
la
start
etapa de
chanting and
principiantes.
perhaps give it up. We
Comenzamos
might
a
chant
cantar,
without proper understanding
tal vez
of
sin
what we are
un
doing,
conocimiento
what is the whole
apropiado,
context of chanting,
sin
and
un
what it really means
contexto.
to develop our
No
personal
entendemos
relationship
bien
with the divine through
que
chanting.
esto nos
For
está
example, we might
aproximando a la
sing a
divinidad.
song where part of the mantra is included. So we say it like some kind of pop song or rock song,
Lo
perhaps,
hacemos como
but
si
we don't really know what
cantando
it's
una
all
canción de
about.
pop o rock,
But
pero
then
en
little
realidad
by
no
little, we
sabemos bien
learn
lo que estamos
more,
haciendo.
and
Pero
our
poco a
chanting
poco,
becomes more like a
el
conscious
canto
choice for
se
us.
vuelve
We try, we fail,
como-
we try again, we fail again.
como algo que
We fall
tratamos, que
short
sentimos,
in
que volvemos a
relationship
tratar,
to our ideal, but we still stick to it. And
Pero-
we keep our eyes and our heart fixed in the ideal, in loving God with
Y
all of our
es-
being.
llegamos
And
a
little
tener
by
un
little,
ideal
we
y
progress
poco a poco
to
vamos
the
acercándonos
practitioner
a ese
stage where
ideal.
the name really starts touching our heart and starts
Y
cleansing it
sin darnos
from
cuenta,
all
eso
the dust
toca nuestro
and
corazón y
misconceptions about
empieza a
ourselves, the
eliminar
world,
todo
and
el
God.
polvo
And then
y a
gradually,
acercarnos
the
más
compassion
hacia
of the
Dios.
name starts
Y
changing
después,
us from within.
gradualmente,
It cleans the false values and
empieza a
thought
limpiar
patterns that keep us away from
aquellos
God.
falsos valores
And
y
finally,
patrones.
our chanting
Y
becomes a pure
finalmente,
love
nuestro
cry
canto
for
se
God.
convierte puro.
There are no other mixed interests.
No hay otros intereses
And our
mezclados.
concentration is not
Nuestra
adventuring here and
concentración
there,
no está
but it's fully
errando.
present, and we are focusing on the love of our
Hay
life,
una presencia
whose names we are
completa.
calling with affection.
Llamamos,
Rupa Goswami
mencionamos
has
esos
written
nombres
the
con
song
amor, con
Nikila
afecto.
Shruti Mauli Radha or Namastakam. And the second verse of the song goes like this.
El segundo verso.
O Harinam, O name sung by the sages,
Harinam,
O transcendental syllables that bring bliss to the people, even if you are spoken only once,
Incluso
and even if you are
Si
spoken
solo lo has mencionado
disrespectfully,
una vez, incluso
you
si
at
lo has
once
mencionado
remove
de
the
manera
many harsh
irrespetuosa,
sufferings of everyone.
puede
So
remover
that's the
el
compassionate
sufrimiento del
nature
corazón.
of the holy
Esa es la
name.
compasión del santo nombre.
Regarding the different stages of chanting, I would
Entonces, en las diferentes
like to
etapas del
recommend
canto, yo
another
recomiendo
lecture that was
una
given
lectura
last
que nos
week
va a
on
dar,
Tuesday.
que les di el
My
último
god brother and good friend
lunes.
Guru Nista Prabhu is giving
Mi buen
classes
amigo
about the
Guru
book Harinama
Nista
Chintamani
nos
by
dio
Bhaktivinoda
clases acerca
Thakur.
del Harinama
So he was
Chintamani.
going just on last Tuesday
El
through
pasado
different
lunes
stages of chanting in a like
diferentes
detailed and very
etapas
interesting way.
del
So
canto de
I
manera
warmly
muy
recommend that
interesante.
talk if you haven't had a chance to
Así
check it
que
out
recomiendo
yet.
mucho.
Anyway, so let's look at the Mahamantra a bit more closely.
Vamos a
Hare Krishna mantra
acercarnos
is
más a lo que es
16
el
word
Mahamantra.
or 32 syllable
Son
Vaishnava
16
mantra,
sílabas
which is originally
del Vaishnava
mentioned
mantra.
in the Kali Santarana Upanishad,
Está
and which then
originalmente en el
Chaitanya
Upanishad.
Mahaprabhu really like brought out and
Y es
extended
Chaitanya
to the
Mahaprabhu quien
world.
lo tomó y lo repartió.
So the mantra consists of 3 words,
El
Krishna,
mantra
Rama, and
consta
Hare.
de 3 palabras,
And due to the
Krishna, Rama y
characteristics of the
Hare,
Sanskrit language, verses and
y las
mantras can have
características
multiple
del lenguaje
meanings,
sánscrito,
all of which can be considered as correct.
todas las
So
formas.
let's look at those names a bit closer.
Vamos a observar estos nombres de más.
So first there is the name Krishna, the all attractive,
Krishna,
the reservoir of all pleasure, all opulence and all
el
qualities.
recipiente de todo el placer.
The dark monsoon cloud that brings relief and new life to the dry and barren fields of our heart. The one original God who has millions of names and so many different faces, the personal God with whom we can enter into a loving relationship as a friend, as a parent, or as a
con quien
lover.
puedes tener una relación de amor, de amigo, de amistad.
And then there's the name Ram,
Y después está el
and
nombre
there are
Ram,
different meanings connected with that
tiene
name as
diferentes
well.
significados
So Ram
conectados
can
a este
refer to
nombre.
Krishna in
Ram
his other
se puede referir a
incarnation as
Krishna
Rama of
en esta
Ramayana, the
encarnación de
great
Rama
king.
dentro del
Or it can be
Ramayana,
a short form for Radha
o
Ramana, which is
también
another
por
name for
Radha
Krishna
Ramana, que es
and
otro
means the beloved of
nombre de
Radha.
Krishna.
Or Ram
O
can refer to
Ram
Balaram,
también
Krishna's
se puede
older brother,
referir a
who
Balaram,
also represents the original spiritual
que
teacher,
también
the original
representa al
guru.
maestro
So in
original.
that way, our teachers can be present in
Así
Mahamantra as
que
well.
estos 3
And
significados
then
pueden
there's the
estar en
name
el
Hare.
Mahamantra. Y
That
después
can
está la
be
palabra Hare,
interpreted as the vocative form of Hari,
que
another
es
name of
una
God,
manera
which
de
can
decir
refer to
Hari,
Vishnu,
que se
meaning
refiere
he
a
who
Vishnu,
removes illusion,
quien remueve
or
la
he who
ilusión,
removes suffering of
o
all
aquel
living
que
beings.
remueve el
But
sufrimiento
for
de
us
todos los seres
Gaudiyas,
humanos.
Hari can refer
Pero
more
los
directly to
caudillas
Krishna,
también,
who
Hari
steals the
se
hearts
refiere
of the
a
gopis,
Krishna,
and who
aquel que
also steals
roba el
our
corazón,
hearts that are
así
locked
que
behind high
es
walls.
aquel que roba nuestro
We
corazón.
might not be able to open those
Puede
locks,
ser que no estemos
no matter how
listos
much
para
we
abrir todo
wanted to do
aquello.
that. So often our only hope is that Krishna comes when we are asking him to
esperanza es
come
que
and
Krishna
breaks in
venga cuando
softly and
nosotros
quietly and
lo
takes our
llamamos.
heart with him and never gives it up. But then again, Hari can also
Pero
be a
también
vocative
Hari
form of Hara, which
evoca
is
la
the name
forma
of
de
Radha.
Hara, que es el
So
nombre
when
de
we are saying
Radha.
Hare,
Así
we
que
can
al decir
remember
Hare,
her as the
también
one
podemos
who stole the
recordarla
mind
a
and
ella
heart of Krishna.
como aquella que robó el
Hare can
corazón de
remind us about Radha's love for Krishna, which is so great
Hare también nos
that Krishna himself
recuerda
ended
el
up
amor
in the
de
middle
Radha
of
hacia
existential
Krishna,
crisis,
lo que
like
es
my Guru
grandioso.
Maharaj Bhaktivedanta Tripurari Swami often
El
says.
Guru Maharaj le
And
dice,
Krishna wanted to taste and experience the
Krishna
love of
quería
Radha that
probar la
exceeds his own
experiencia de
understanding.
Radha, quería entenderla.
So
Así,
in that way,
en
the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu
ese
comes
sentido es
also,
que
or is also
también
inside of the Hare Krishna
Sri
mantra.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu está dentro de
It is said that by the help
Mahamantra.
of Radha, we can have the service of Krishna, and by the help of Krishna, we can have the
Con la
service of
ayuda de
Radharani.
Krishna podemos.
So they both are helping us to find our part in the play. So
Tanto
when we are
Krishna como
calling these
Radharani
names,
nos
when
pueden
we are speaking
ayudar
out
en el
Mahamantra,
servicio.
we can trust
Cuando hablamos del
that Radha
Mahamantra
Syama
podemos
Sundara, they are
confiar
personally
en que
present
Radha
there
Syamasundara
with
está
all of their
personalmente
transcendental
presente
beauty, qualities, and
con
pastimes.
con sus
And when we are
cualidades,
chanting, we are spending our
pasatiempos.
time with them.
Mientras cantamos, nosotros
So
estamos
like we
pasando
see, there
tiempo
are
con él,
so many
con
different
ellos.
kinds of relationships hidden
Hay
inside of the
diferentes tipos
Mahamantra.
de
So even if
relaciones
the
dentro del
mantra is the same
Mahamantra.
for all of us,
Incluso si el
we might be
Mahamantra es el
calling
mismo
different
para todos,
aspects of
nosotros
divine when we are repeating
cada
the
uno
holy
estará
names.
llamando
And also the
diferentes
center of
aspectos al
gravity
cantar el
might
Mahamantra.
change when we grow and learn to understand better our personal, unique relationship with God.
Cada quien tendrá una relación única y personal con
All
Dios.
right, so now we have talked a little bit about each of the names that
Así
are
que
included
vamos
in
a
the
hablar
Maha
un poco
Mantra.
acerca de los
But what
nombres
is
que
the meaning
incluyen
of the
en el
whole
Maha Mantra.
mantra? What is the meaning of
¿Cuál es
all
el
16
significado
names
de
or
todo el Maha Mantra,
32
de las
syllables
16
combined?
sílabas combinadas?
So I will next cite some of our spiritual teachers about the meaning of the Maha Mantra.
Algunos
And let's start
significados
with my dear
voy a
spiritual
comentarlos.
grandfather, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada.
Swami Prabhupada
He emphasized in his talks
Él
and
enfatizó
writings quite often that Maha Mantra is
el
a
Maha
prayer,
Mantra
and
es
when we are
una
repeating the
oración
mantra, we
en
are
la que
asking,
nosotros
please
repetimos
engage
el
me in
mantra
your service.
y en la cual estamos pidiendo,
And
por
like we
favor,
talked
dame
about the
servicio.
different nuances of the names included in the mantra, this prayer can be addressed
Esta
to Krishna,
oración
to
puede ser
Radha, to
dirigida
both
a
of them,
Krishna,
or
a
to our
Radha,
Guru,
a los dos o a nuestro
who is
Guru,
also present there
que
in the
también
mantra.
está
Please engage
presente en
me
el
in your
mantra. Por
service.
favor,
Because only with the
tómame en tu
serving mood can
servicio.
we approach the holy name. Only with the serving mood are we
Solo
able
con
to
la
chant the holy name constantly
posición
and
de sirviente
continuously.
podemos acercarnos
Perhaps
al
not yet,
nombre.
but in one day, it is promised that it will
Tal
happen
vez
even to
no
us,
pasa en este
if we
momento,
want
pero
it.
la promesa es que un día podamos
Raghunath
acercarnos de
Das
esta
Goswami
manera
says
al
that
mantra.
whenever Radha remembered Krishna
Cuando
and
Radha
felt like
recuerda
being
a
with him,
Krishna,
she chanted the Maha Mantra, and this
ella
made her
canta el
feel
Maha
closer to
Mantra y
Krishna
se le
at
hace
the
sentir más cerca
utterance
de
of each
Krishna.
syllable of the mantra.
Cada
So this is
sílaba
another
del
way
mantra
of
se hace
approaching
sentir más
our
cerca.
chanting.
Así
We
que
can
esta es otra
remember
manera de
Radha, remembering
acercarse
Krishna,
al mantra,
and trust
recordar a
that
Radha
each
recordando
syllable
a
of the
Krishna,
mantra is bringing us a bit closer to Krishna, a
lo
bit
que
more
nos haría
committed
sentir
to our
más
ideal.
cerca de Krishna, de nuestro ideal.
Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, one of the
La
great
Bhaktivedanta Thakur, uno de los más
theologians
grandes
of Gaudiya
teólogos
tradition in the
dentro de la
1900
Gaudiya,
century,
del Gaudiya
connected the
Vaishnavismo,
chanting of
conectó
Maha
el
Mantra
canto del
with the
Maha
growth of
Mantra
faith from Sraddha, tender
con la
faith,
fe
to
en
Prema, the
Radha
divine overflowing love.
y el prema.
So he basically takes the words of the
Él
mantra
básicamente
in
tomó
pairs
el
and
verbo
gives each
del
pair
mantra
a specific meaning.
y le dio
So
un
according to Bhaktivedanta
significado
Thakur,
específico.
the meaning of the
Así que de
first
acuerdo
Hare
a
Krishna
esto,
is that
el
the
significado
chanting of the
es
Maha Mantra will,
el canto
with
del
faith,
Maha Mantra
destroys
con
all
fe,
ignorance.
destruye toda ignorancia.
The meaning of the second Hare Krishna
El
is that all
significado
Krishna's potencies are present in the Maha Mantra.
en el
One should
canto del Maha
develop
Mantra están
attachment
todas las
to the
potencias
process of accepting full shelter of the Maha Mantra in the association of purer devotees.
y esto se encuentra todas las potencias
By
las
following
pueden
this
alcanzar en la
process,
asociación de
all
los
the
devotos.
unwanted things in our heart will be destroyed. Then strong faith will awaken in the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. By the third chanting of Krishna Krishna,
Por el canto de Krishna Krishna,
please develop this faith in chanting further
desarrolla
by
fe
taking shelter of the transcendental qualities of the purer
poner nuestra
devotees.
atención en las
By the
cualidades
fourth
trascendentales
chanting
de
of
los
Hare
devotos
Hare,
puros.
please
En el canto del
cultivate
Hare
the
Hare
taste for chanting. This stage marks the manifestation of unmotivated
gusto
desire to
por el canto del
render
Maha Mantra
devotional service to Lord Krishna.
y la rendición
By the fifth
motivada hacia el
remembrance
Señor
of
Krishna.
Hare Ram,
Por el
arises the
canto de
stage
Hare
of
Ram
rendering bhakti with the mood of purer servitude and strong attachment.
recibimos
By the chanting of the sixth Hare Rama, one arouses one's bhava, ecstasy or emotion for Lord Krishna.
por el Hare Rama
He then
recibimos
develops this taste for this
éxtasis
material
y
world
sabor
and strong attraction to surrender everything to Lord
y una gran
Krishna.
atracción a la rendición por el Señor
The
Krishna.
seventh chanting of Ram Ram arouses strong
Canto de Ram
attachment
Ram
to the sweetest feature
da
of the
un
absolute truth, and ultimately the desire to
acercamiento
take shelter
a
of
la
the lotus
verdad
feet of Srimati Radharani in the mood of separation.
y un acercamiento
While chanting the final Hare
al
Hare,
sentimiento
the
de
sadhaka will achieve
Radharani
the
en
ultimate
separación.
goal, prayojana, of rendering pure loving devotional service in the pastimes of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna in
El canto de
Vrindavan,
Hare Hare
in one's
nos
original
acerca
spiritual body, in the mood of the gopis or gopas during the 8 periods of the day. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki
nos acerca a
jai.
sentir los
So
sentimientos de los
when
gopas y
we
gopis.
walk in his footsteps, at the footsteps of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we can climb from the seat of the
Todos
faith
estos
to the
pasos
full
que
blossoming stage of
explica
Bhakti Lada, the creeper of love, within each mantra that we repeat. So
cada que
even within one
repetimos el
single
mantra,
round, we will
vemos
make this
que
journey
incluso en
108 times.
cada vez que repetimos el nombre hay
There is
todo
a
un viaje.
saying, if we can dream it, we can do it. I guess that's often put in Walt Disney's name, even though I guess originally it was someone else, not him, who said it. But anyway, I think there's a lot of truth in that saying.
Pienso que hay mucha
So
verdad en todo
if we can
esto.
reach prema, the divine love,
Si
each
podemos
time when we chant in our
pensar
mind,
en
even
prema y cada
theoretically,
vez que
it
cantemos,
will focus
incluso de
our eyes
forma
and
teórica,
enchant
si
our
ponemos
mind
nuestros ojos
towards
ahí
our
en cantar,
ideal, which again helps us to grow in
con nuestro ideal
Saranagati,
en
in
la
surrender
mente,
to the love of our life.
nos acercaremos a
Before
Saranagati,
finishing
a la
up for
rendición,
today, I would like to take one more
como el
example
ideal en
about the
nuestra
meaning
vida.
of Mahamantra, which was written by Jiva Goswami
Voy
in
a
his
mencionar
Mahamantartha Dipika.
otro verso escrito por Jiva Goswami.
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to check the
Desafortunadamente,
original source, so
no
I'm
pude
relying here on the
revisar la fuente
second-hand source
original.
this time. But so the Srila Jiva Goswami's
Pero Srila Jiva Goswami
explanation of the mantra
explica
goes as follows. So first word, Hare.
el primer Hare.
Krishna steals the minds of everyone, yet Radha steals even his mind by her divine expertise.
Krishna roba
Thus,
la
she is
mente de
known
cada
as
quien
Hara.
y Radha
Second
roba
word,
la
Krishna.
mente de Krishna.
He forcibly
Hara.
attracts Sri Radha with the sweet sound of his flute. Therefore,
Radha
that
se ve
Lord
atraída
of
por la
all
flauta de
enchanting
Krishna
qualities is known as Krishna.
y por todas
Hare.
las cualidades
It has
conocidas
been
como
heard
Krishna.
that
Hare.
during the Rasa Lila, doe-eyed Radha was stolen away by Krishna to be
Durante
alone
Rasa
with him
Lila,
in a secret forest bower. She is therefore known as Hara. Krishna.
Krishna.
When Krishna sports
Cuando
with Radha,
Krishna
her golden hue takes on the dark complexion of Krishna's skin. He is thus known as Krishna. Krishna. In order to please Sri Radha, Krishna manifested the most wonderful lakes, Yamakund, in Vrindavan. He then called all the holy rivers to fill it. He is thus known as Krishna.
habla de todos los ríos
Krishna.
sagrados, está dando
By her
un significado a cada
unsurpassed
una de
love,
las palabras.
Radha charms he who performs wonderful lilas on the banks of the Yamuna. Therefore, those who are sober know him as Krishna. Hare.
Hare.
While in Gokul, Sri Hari Krishna killed the demon known
Cuando
as
en el Gokul
Aristasura.
Krishna mata a los
During that
demonios,
time, Radha cried
durante
out
ese
to him with
tiempo,
great feeling, and
Radha
by doing so, she stole his mind. She is thus known as Hara. Hare. Filled with ecstatic love, Radha sometimes sings the glories of Hari's exploits quietly, and sometimes she sings them aloud. Those who are expert in the secrets of divine sentiments call her
Lo siento,
Hara.
habla muy rápido.
Hare. Due to
Hare.
the intense love of Sri Radha, Sri Hari becomes so captivated that his flute
Hari
falls
se
from his
ve
hand
totalmente
with the
capturado por la
desire
dulce Radha
to
que se
enjoy
cae de
in the
sus manos.
forest bowers with Krishna. Radha steals his flute.
Y Radha
That
roba
goddess
su
is thus
flauta.
famous as Hara.
Y por
Ram.
eso es famosa como Hara.
Krishna, who is expert at
Ram.
embracing, sports with Radha in the forest groves or in the caves of Govardhana. Thus he is known as Ram. Hare. That most merciful Radha destroys the miseries of her devotees and gives them great happiness every day. Therefore, that goddess is known as Hara. Rama. The minds of the devotees are continuously drowned in an ocean of supreme joy by seeing the beautiful dark form of Krishna. Therefore, he is known by the name Ram. Radharani is known as Ram because she enjoys loving pastimes with Achyuta Krishna in the secret forest pavilion. Since he is always by her side, he is
Ya
known
que
as
ella,
Ram.
ella siempre está a su lado, es
Ram.
conocida como
Then the
Ram.
residents of Gokul were crying due to the fear of the forest fire. Krishna immediately swallowed it and gave his devotees great joy. In this way, he is known as Ram. Hare. Sri Krishna went to Mathurapuri in order to
Krishna
destroy
va a
the demons.
Mathurapuri a
However,
destruir a
due
los
to being
demonios.
captivated
Sin
by the love
embargo,
of
se ve
Radha,
capturado
he
por el
later
amor de
returned.
Radha.
Therefore, he is
después-
known as Hara. Hare.
Hare.
When the son of Maharaj Nanda returned to Vraj,
Cuando
he took away the suffering of all the Vrajavasis. By his wonderful exploits, he steals the heart of Sri Radha. Thus, he is known as Hari.
siento muy rápido.
So, with these few quotes from different teachers
Así con
and
estas cuotas
theologians
de
of our
diferentes
tradition,
maestros, teólogos de
I
nuestra
would like to illustrate
Quisiera
that there are
ilustrar
so many
que hay
possibilities
muchas
to approach
posibilidades
the
de
Mahamantra and the
acercamiento al
inner meaning of
Mahamantra,
the mantra.
los
There
significados del
are
Mahamantra.
interpretations that are more
Hay
philosophical,
interpretaciones
like
más
the one of like
filosóficas,
the interpretation by
como la
like one of the
interpretación
interpretations of Bhaktivinoda Thakur
de
that I cited
Bhaktivinoda
today.
Thakur.
And then there are insights that
Y
are
también
closely
hay
connected with Krishna Lila,
acercamientos
like
que
the
están más conectados con el Krishna
cited
Lila,
interpretation by Jiva Goswami.
como las de Jiva
And then there are
Goswami.
very practical, low
Y
threshold
después
kind of
también hay
approaches, like the
interpretaciones muy
short
prácticas
and beautifully
y
simple
hermosas,
explanation that
simples
Srila Prabhupada
explicaciones,
emphasized
como
in
la
his
de
lectures and writings about the
Srila
service
Prabhupada
mood that helps us to
en
deepen our
en el
commitment
modo
and
de servicio.
appreciation for the name. Like also Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Deva Goswami Maharaj says, it is the serving attitude that can connect
Es
our
la
physical
actitud
world
de
with
sirviente lo que nos va a
Vrindavan.
conectar con
So
Vrindavan.
there are so many,
Así
endlessly
que
many
hay
possibilities
muchos, sin
in
fin de
Mahamantra, in
posibilidades
these few
dentro del Mahamantra.
kind of simple names when you look at them at the
Parecen nombres
first
simples, pero
sight,
cuando lo vemos,
but depending whether you are more on the philosophical mood or
depende si estás más en
on
el
the mood
modo
of
filosófico
diving into the
o
pastimes
en el
of
modo
Lord,
de entrar más hacia los
or more
pasatiempos,
in the need of developing
o
our
más en el
service
modo
attitude.
de
The mantra
desarrollar
is
un
always
servicio
there
de
for us in that
una
regard.
actitud de servicio. Es como
So
el
it's already
acercamiento que vas
quite
a
late.
tener al
We
mundo.
ran a little bit late in the start, but anyway, I think now it's a good time to start summarizing a little bit, and then we
Así que
will
ahora
have time for some
estamos en
discussion.
tiempo.
So today we focused on
Así que
Mahamantra,
hoy
the great
nos
mantra, the Hare
enfocamos en
Krishna
el
mantra,
Mahamantra, en el gran
that we are
mantra,
chanting under the
Hare
protection of
Krishna
Sri Sri
mantra.
Gauranitai, their closest associates and our spiritual teachers.
Y
We talked about the sacred
también
names
hablamos
that are so much more
de
than just
cómo
tools
los
to
secretos
focus our
nombres son
mind.
mucho más que
For us, Hare Krishna
herramientas para
mantra
enfocar
consists
nuestra
of the
mente.
names of our beloved that we are
De
calling with
cómo
great affection.
este nombre nos
And for us,
acerca
chanting is about
realmente de manera
building
afectuosa y
little by little
amorosa,
a deep
Señor. Y cómo poco
personal
a
relationship
poco
with the
vamos
divine and learning
desarrollando
to love
una
unconditionally.
relación personal con el
And we
Señor
also
de
talked
amor
about the three
incondicional.
names of the
También
mantra,
hablamos de los
Hare,
tres
Krishna, and
nombres
Rama.
del Mahamantra, Hare,
So
Krishna
even
y
if the
Rama.
mantra is same for all of us,
Así
we
que
might be
incluso
calling different aspects of
vimos también
divine when we are
diferentes
repeating the holy
aspectos de
names.
la divinidad,
And also the center of
nombres
gravity
santos.
might change when we grow and learn to understand better our personal relationship with God.
También
So
vimos cómo
we might be then more
depende
connected with like
de la
other
relación
part of the
personal de
mantra
cada
that we
uno y
used to
cómo
be before.
vamos a acercarnos
And then
al
at the end, we
Mahamantra.
talked about the meaning
Y
of
al
the
final
mantra,
hablamos del
which
significado del
Srila Prabhupada
Mahamantra,
connected with the mood to
que Srila
serve.
Prabhupada conectó
And
más con el
Srila Bhaktivinoda
servicio,
Thakur saw the
Srila
growth of
Bhaktivinoda
faith from
Thakur
tender faith to the
conectó más
divine
hacia
overflowing
la
love
fe.
hidden inside each one of its mantras. And lastly, I read
Y
some
por
insights
último,
by Jiva Goswami that are closely
analizamos cómo
connected with the
Jiva Goswami
pastimes
lo
of Sri
conectó
Krishna and
muy
Radha.
cercanamente hacia los pasatiempos
Okay, I think we can
Krishna y
stop
Radha.
now here for today. But like I promised, we will have some time for discussion. So I would love to hear your thoughts and experiences about chanting the Maha Mantra. For example, what kind of things have you found in the mantra, or you have read about mantra that have touched your heart and left kind of some kind of mark in your memory, that kind of things that increase your commitment to your ideal, or if there are some practical tips that you would like to share with other devotees, it would be wonderful to hear about that. And of course, if there are some questions or comments that are related to this talk, I'm happy to hear them. And if you are listening the English audio, please make sure that you are on the English channel. There's this like globe sign on the panel where you can check that. So then we will all be able to hear each other. And actually now I noticed that there is one comment here on the chat section. Gurunista is writing here, but without the 8 astasakis. Yeah, that's a very good point. I think you have perhaps written this when we were talking about the like similarities and differences about the chapamalas or prayer beads of different traditions. And I have to admit that I kind of purposefully concentrated on those things that kind of we all share, and but that's really a nice point. And actually I would like to ask Gurunista, would you like to share some words about this point that you made on the chat?
No, it was just because you said that the Russian Orthodox have 100 beads in their mala, and so I said, they're missing basically the Madhura component. So that was the joke. But anyway, I wanted to appreciate your class also. One point that really struck me, a very nice point, was when you said that Mahaprabhu is kind of presiding over our chanting when things are going well, and then when it gets hard, then Nityananda takes over. That was a very, very fine point. I've never heard before, but it was really nice. And then one more thing, you asked about like tips and stuff. One thing that I've really noticed is how much like eating affects the mind. So like when my mind starts wandering, chanting, and amazing how that like physical activity brings the mind back to the mantra. So that's one simple practical tip that I could say. But that's it. Thank you very much for the class. It's excellent.
Gracias por la clase.
Hey, thank you, Gurunista, so much, and thank you also sharing the tip, the practical tip. I personally appreciate those a lot. There was some delay or some kind of the audio broke a little bit when you mentioned the tip, so I'm not sure if I kind of caught all of it, but what I got through was that the physical exercise is also helping to concentrate. So thank you.
No, I'm actually saying that the breathing when you chant, like what I do is my mind starts wandering, and when I catch myself, then I like stop chanting and take like 1 or 2 deep breaths, and that brings my mind like back to the mantra. So it was just that simple thing.
Hey, thank you. I think it was the breathing part that kind of was broken up. So thank you. Good, thanks.
Yeah, bad internet. Sorry about that.
All right. Is there some other comments or questions or something that you would like to share with the rest of us in the mood that we are sharing and kind of supporting each other's practice as well?
También apoyando la práctica de los otros.
All right. I guess there are no more comments for today.
Por el día de hoy.
So, thank you all
Así que
for
muchas
being
gracias
here.
a todos por estar aquí.
And thank you for the comments.
Gracias por los
I hope to
comentarios.
continue our discussion then.
Espero que continuemos
Our discussion about chanting as the prayer of the heart on next Monday, the 21st of March.
El próximo
And
lunes.
the theme of the next talk will be the initiation into chanting. So we will talk about the importance of spiritual guidance and spiritual family in relation to chanting. And we will also meet some inspiring role models for chanting from Gaudiya tradition. So I hope to see all of you there. I offer my gratitude and my wish to learn to love the sacred names of divine at the feet of my spiritual teachers and at the feet of the Vaishnavas, who are like wishful-filling trees, full of kindness and compassion for all living beings. Sri Gaudiya Vaishnava Guru Parambara ki jai, Gaura Nityananda ki jai, Harinama Mahamantra ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Srimati Haripriya Devi Dasi ki
Jai.
Sadhu Sangha ki jai, Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.